Eilish.
Hit Me Hard and Soft is the newest album by Billie Eilish, her third studio album to date. Kind of coming out of nowhere. I found out that it was coming out I think a couple of weeks or so before it actually did. And I had read that she had announced it on social media or something like a month prior to then. So it was really more like a month and a half before the album came out that there was confirmation of its release date. So I was kind of behind on that. Billie. Yeah, I like Billie Eilish. I enjoyed her music. I really liked her last album, especially Happier Than Ever being the name of it. And I do enjoy the debut one too. I don't listen to her that often, to be honest, even though I think she's great. I think she's one of the most talented artists in mainstream music at the moment. But for some reason, you know, we all have artists that are kind of in our rotation. If you listen to as much music as me, at least, and you have certain bands and artists that you kind of go back to more often and re-listen to things, and she's never really been that for me, even though I will acknowledge that a lot of her music is really good. I tend to like her style of songwriting and her singing, which has been slightly controversial, even though I think most people would agree that she's a great singer, but like the whispery vocals that she would implement much more earlier in her career, doesn't do it as often now. But I do love her voice, and I tend to love the production in her songs as well, which of course is done by Phineas O'Connell, her brother. In about 3 years now since her last album came out, Happier Than Ever, we did have the Guitar Songs EP that came out roughly a year or so after that, and the song on the Barbie soundtrack, What Was I Made For? But yeah, it's been about 3 years since we got a full-length project from Mrs. Eilish. Actually, Miss. I don't know why I said Mrs. And here we have an album that is pretty kind of weighty, emotionally speaking, with some of these lyrics. Several songs seem to be about someone that she likes, or someone that she's kind of feeling lustful feelings towards. Heartbreak, you could even say, is some of the themes of these songs. And yet again, another very instrumentally diverse project that is a little more cohesive, I would say, than her last effort. As much as I did like Happier Than Ever, it did kind of feel like musical whiplash, going from song to song. Every song really sounded super different from the last, at least what I can remember from the last time I gave that one a listen. This one, it's not quite as up and down, not quite as zigzaggedy as that one was aesthetically speaking. The production, once again, though, is just super great, super solid on here. A lot of the instrumentals also complementing the lyricism very well and matching the moods of the lyrics in the tracks. And just kind of a random comment, I feel like the cover for this album is kind of perfect, as she's clearly drowning in this pool, this mass of water, whatever you want to call it. But there is sort of a soft, almost gentle nature to the look of it, even though she's pretty far down in the water. But there's something that's kind of relaxing about it. So it's like she's drowning to her death, but in a easeful way.
I have no soul.
Also, if you've seen the Happier Than Ever music video, you could kind of see like the tie-in to that as well. I don't know if that's what it is, if that is an intentional thing that they had with the cover, then I don't even know what to make of this album now. It kind of changes a lot of things. But, setting all those ideas aside, focusing just on this album alone, not comparing it to other projects, past releases from Billie, it's really damn good. I was really impressed with how this album played out, especially after the initial listen, giving it more time, spending more time with this album. It started to grow on me a little bit, even though I really liked it at first too. I would say I actually liked it even more, giving it more repeated listening. Skinny fittingly starts off the album pretty much all talking about herself. Billie is reflecting on herself, her past self, and sort of looking back on her younger years with this fondness, which I find refreshing, because I don't know if I can speak for this for most artists, but I can tell you for me, I kind of cringe when I look back on my younger years, the way I was, the way I looked, things I said and did. I'm a little embarrassed about certain things. That's just me. I'm just a very insecure person in general. So it's nice to hear someone that's kind of more proud of their younger selves even though I can't really relate to that. It's a very quiet sounding song. There's this soft guitar melody being played, but a lot of ambient noise, basically no percussion at all, and these very pretty strings that come in the last minute of the song that I really liked. Lunch is a pretty interesting song, one that I really did not care for at first, but I gotta say I like it quite a bit. Now I can see why it's the single for the album. It's extremely catchy, extremely infectious. There's some interesting lyrics about wanting to eat someone for lunch. I feel like if you were to just read the lyrics alone, it would sound a little creepy, threatening perhaps, especially if it's about you. You know that this song is written about you. But the way that the instrumental is all like boppy and peppy, and Billie's kind of humorous vocals definitely give it more of a sarcastic, romantic kind of vibe. Birds of a Feather. Look, I'll admit, this is a pretty generic sounding song. Very cookie cutter, bedroom pop kind of thing, a la Clairo or something like that. But I don't know, man, I just love it. I love it. This is definitely one of my favorites on here. I love the kind of quick strumming of the guitar and bass. I think it was mainly the bass where we heard a lot of that. And the lo-fi sort of drum beat. Billie's voice sounds great on here too. This is where we kind of venture more outside of the whispery vocals, which I think are great. Wildflower is one of the more sadder, somber sounding songs on the album. It almost sounds a little country. Billie's kind of going in a bit of a country direction here, and I like it. Some pretty interesting lines on here. She seems to be jealous of this girl who's liked by this other person who I don't think the gender is identified. Do you see her in the back of your mind? In my eyes. I really like that line. In general, the song's sort of open to interpretation, I would say. With the next song, The Greatest, Billie and Phineas basically were like, yeah, Happier Than Ever was a good song and did really well, so let's just make another song like that. It follows a similar kind of formula with a extreme switch up musically and about the halfway mark where it starts off a more softer, almost kind of rockabye, lullaby sounding song, like something you could cradle another person to, or a thing, I don't know. And then breaks out into this big dramatic glam rock sounds in the second half. Also, just gotta say, as someone who knows how to read music and knows how time signatures and things like that work, I love that this part of the song is in 8/4. I would have expected something like 3/4, maybe, especially with it kind of slowing down a little bit in tempo. But 8/4, it's just so cool. It's like really kind of unique for mainstream artists to utilize 8/4. L'amour de ma vie also has a similar kind of formula where the first half is sort of a rhythm and blues, jazz kind of section, and then it breaks out into this weird like synth pop, hyper pop kind of direction in the last couple minutes. One that it kind of sounds cool on its own, but I'll be honest, it really does not fit. It's just a very weird and awkward transition into like a part 2 of the song, I guess. Maybe it could have worked if that part of the song was isolated into its own track interlude, perhaps. But really, I think it just shouldn't be on the album altogether. It does not sound that great. However, what is great is the following track, The Diner. Not one of my favorite songs, lyrically speaking, on the album. It kind of returns to the food analogies sort of utilized in Lunch and like the blurring of lines between lust and starvation. It's, you know, it's a familiar song with regards to the words, but I'm digging the production on this one, the instrumental. It sounds like there's a accordion sampled, I believe. Very cool sound. It feels like you're at some sort of futuristic Italian dine-in place. I don't know. After this, there's only 2 more tracks. Bittersweet, I'm really not that into. Kind of bored by that one. Blue is also pretty slow, but I'm much more into it. I do like how it picks up the melody that closes out Bittersweet, and then Blue begins kind of with that same melody. That's a cool little detail that you only notice when you listen to the album in full. Sadly, there's probably a lot of people that just won't pick up on that because they'll just listen to these songs sporadically or when we put the album on shuffle. Do whatever you want. I don't like that idea, but whatever. Do whatever you want. So yeah, overall, I did like Blue as a closer. I thought it was a good final song for the album. But yeah, Hit Me Hard and Soft. Really impressed with this. I've been going, but that was a weird way I worded that. I'm going back and forth over how much I liked it, what I possibly would rate it. Had different ideas in my head. But right now I'm feeling a solid 9 out of 10 on this thing. Very good work from Billie here. One of her better albums, if you ask me. And one of the better albums that I've heard all year so far. Curious to know what you all think of it. It's been getting a lot of praise from what I've seen and read. Want to know your thoughts and your favorite tracks, of course, as always. But with that said, pretty sure that's all that I have to say. So I'll see you all whenever I see you all. Peace out.